episode of Fullfunnel Live, hosted by your probably two favorite bold hosts from with Balkan last names. Jokes aside, today we moved the podcast to Wednesday instead of Thursday, just because of a necessary I need to meet in Valencia. But that's good, as we are going to cover one of the most common questions we still see in our trenches community: how to warm up target buyers. So in this episode, we want to share with you a few things. So first of all, we want to share the big picture, right? What do you need to have before developing a warm-up program? Because quite often we see that a lot of companies, they skip the fundamental part, right? And then just discuss the tactics, or what ads should we run, or what should be the email open line, right? Email subject, or what should we write in the messages. But to get answers to these questions, you need to nail down the fundamentals. If you have them in place, then that shouldn't be a question, right? Now, so first part would be all about fundamentals. The second one would be about discussing multi-threaded warm-up program, and we'll cover the 6 ways to warm up target buyers. And ultimately, we would love to share with you 3 practical case studies, because that's probably, again, the question that the majority of you might have. So how to warm up hard to reach buyers that are either not active on social or they are the hard to reach markets, right? So we want to share with you 3 practical examples, or let's say 3 case studies, right, that you can reverse engineer and apply in your business. So that being said, share with us, guys, where you're joining us, where you're listening from. We're again broadcasting from our office in Valencia, and where you guys are all from. Tell us in the chat, please.
All right. So, well, people are typing and letting us know. Just wanted to dive
from Kiev. Nice to see you.
Into the first topic, and just to give you the big picture of where does it fit in the bigger process, and what are the prerequisites that you need in order to be able to run a successful warm-up program. So, okay, we have, again, from both sides of the ocean, guests coming in. Hi, everybody. So going back to the topic of the prerequisites, obviously, we are running this on a number of accounts. And when it comes to account-based marketing, you know that how you select accounts makes all the difference, because you're focused on a group of accounts, right? So the first thing you need to have nailed is your account qualification segmentation criteria, which we covered in a previous episode that I will drop the link to here in the chat. And once you have selected the accounts for your account-based marketing program, we had another episode, which we call We Need Revenue Now, drop the link in a moment, where we actually discuss, okay, how do you prioritize those accounts? And essentially, it comes down to breaking all the accounts, or segmenting all the accounts into 2 groups. And the first group is the accounts where you want to work on opportunity development. These are accounts that are in current focus for this quarter, where your goal is to work with sales, maybe an account executive or somebody, to develop an actual sales qualified opportunity. Now, these are not accounts that have a declared need, so they're not accounts who came inbound, but you have sufficient information. Let's say you're basically filled out you've answered all the questions that you need to answer in order to know how to sell to this account. So what are all the information that we need in order to be able to sell into that account, to make sure that they have a need and that we can actually sell to them, we can personalize our messaging and all of these things, okay? The second group are the accounts where you may not have all this information, and also where you might have some contacts in those accounts. Maybe there was some previous engagement, but you don't really have necessarily a good relationship. And the focus there, in other words, and everything that you will learn in today's episode, all the different tactics that we are going to share, are meant for this second group of accounts. Okay, for the second group of accounts, your main goal is to kind of answer all these questions that you need to have, fill out all the blanks, what we sometimes call the account blindness. Like, so remove all the account blindness, understand exactly who are the people in the buying committee, understand what the needs and challenges are, validate this as much as possible. So basically you're coming out pretty sure, okay, there is definitely an active need there. I have good relationship with them. I've connected to the buyer center. I've engaged and nurtured them, which is the goal of all the tactics that we are going to share today of the warm-up program. And now we can go into we can move them to the first group, which is more opportunity development. So hopefully that's clear. If you have any questions about how you might do that, I definitely recommend that you watch this episode that was called We Need a Revenue Now, which I shared the link to just now in the chat.
That was just one relevant question that you guys shared with us before the episode, and it was, I would just cite a part of that question. So I suppose that for selecting these accounts that we are going to warm up, there should be some level of intent or engagement. That's absolutely correct. This is what we discussed in that episode, We Need Revenue Now. And this is how basically we separate two accounts, right? By high engagement and what we already know about them, and low engagement and no engagement, right? But basically there is some evidence that potentially these accounts might have needs. So these are two different groups. Now, there was a second question where, like, what is the best tool to get this intent data? And I always say, guys, we have a great sponsor that is sponsoring our Fullfunnel podcast, a company called DealFront. They are leading intent data European provider, and what we love about DealFront is, first of all, they have fantastic design. They have, aside from intent, they have databases, so you can immediately enrich any accounts or find the target decision makers or create the buying committee, right? And the best part is that they're also GDPR compliant. This is super relevant for everybody who is selling in EMEA, or if you're a global team and you have an office that is selling in EMEA, right? That would be go-to for you. So what we love as well about them, that's their product-led growth company, so you can try it for free and evaluate if it's the right fit. So we'll drop a link now, just check it out, and if that might be your go-to tool when it comes to intent data, right? So just to quickly cover that question. Now, assuming that you have all the fundamentals, we want just to shorten time to value and basically present what we have promised, right? Let's practically discuss how to warm up the target buyers. So here is like a simple mind map that we use. You can download it from my LinkedIn post, but I saw that the LinkedIn just compressed the image, so maybe it's not a good quality. So if you'd like to get this mind map, just reach out to me on LinkedIn and I will send you a PDF or JPEG. Now, the key point here, right? When you want to warm up target buyers, the best way you can do it is when you develop a joint marketing and sales playbooks that is multi-threaded. What do I mean by this? It means that you don't rely on a, let's say, broken playbook, which is all about marketing would run display ads or purchase ABM software, right? And will run programmatic display ads. I don't know, maybe I am biased, maybe I don't know, maybe I don't have enough information, but I literally don't know any company where it worked. Whenever I speak to everybody who is just running programmatic display ads and then, outbound on steroids, they always have very bad conversion. So the key point, if you like, why we are doing this, we want to land enterprise opportunities, right? And we are talking about 6-figure, 7-figure deals. Maybe 7 figures are not relevant to everybody here, but let's say 6-figure deals, that should be a use case for everybody here. Now, if we want to land, let's say 300K or 200K contract, right? we can't just assume that it's enough to run ads or have a good email subject line to kind of book an opportunity. What we need to do is that we need to have what Vlad said. We need to build relationship with the people, right? And if we're working on the account development, on opportunity development, we need to come with the personalized offer and define the best way to distribute it. Or for accounts that we don't have information, are they buying, are they have an actual need, right? Where they are in the buying journey. Our goal to build relationship with these people, right? And uncover this information. Or basically, if you imagine for a second an account scorecard, right? What do I need to know about this account to make a relevant offer, right? Your goal for the warm-up program would be basically collecting all this information, right? Until you will be confident that we know enough about that account, there is a clear need in our product, and we know how to present it in the best meaningful way. And the most important part, we are connected to the buying committee members. They are already aware of our company, of our product, right? And we can expect that they would at least reply back to us, right? That's the goal of the warm-up program. Now, just wanted to nail down these fundamentals before we'll touch these 6 groups, right? Now, what I mean by multi-threaded program? By multi-threaded program, I mean that you see 6 different groups of engagement, right? Personalized content, events, ads, connections, engagement, and micro collaborations. Multi-threaded engagement means that you basically pick up activities from each of these 6 groups, right? And do them for a quarter. We always recommend to plan a quarter program. That's the best way, right? So, and you leverage these micro collaborations for a quarter. Micro collaborations. You leverage these activities for a quarter. Now, one of the most common questions that we receive, okay, but how would we know what challenge should we leverage, for example, for ads or for micro collaboration, or what content should we share, right? So for this specific reason, obviously, you need to get a basic information about your buyers. You can get it if you combine 3 sources of insights. The first one is customer interviews. We actually ran an episode, Vlad will drop a link in the chat, ran an episode about how to run customer research and turn the insights into actionable ideas. So that would appear in the chat in the moment. Next, you can involve your subject matter expert. Usually your SMEs, right, subject matter experts, they used to work for companies you are selling to. They used to be your buyers, right? So they have a lot of knowledge. And ultimately, you can run the deal analysis. You can analyze your top 5 customers and top five fastest deals, right? And maybe also top 5 latest deals until the information is fresh. So you can combine all of these insights, and that would be the answer to your question, right? What channels to use, what content to use. So today we want just to share the examples of these different activities, right? And we'll cover them one by one. So the first one is the personalized. And by the way, before I'll cover these groups, let me know if everything that we have shared makes sense to you. Everything is clear. Type plus, please. If everything is clear, type minus if it's not clear and you have some questions. Feel free to post them, because we want to make sure that the fundamentals are in place and you understand them. Cool. Thank you, Kevin. And yeah, also Vlad will share the post. So 6 groups, right? The first one is personalized content. And we have basically, we love to leverage, for examples, content hubs, social or community content around jobs to be done, case studies, and your proprietary data, because this is what your people, what your target buyers are interested in. Content hubs is the easiest way. Let's say you have let's take our example. We sell to VP of marketing, right? VP of marketing and his team or her team, they were running ABM program, which wasn't successful, right? And they are looking for ways how to revamp their ABM strategy, the ABM program. So our content hub might be all about this, right? How to revamp your ABM strategy, why it doesn't work, or let's say self-audit, what you need to pay attention to understand why your ABM program doesn't work, right? It could be all about the relevant case studies, right? How to do it the right way. Then explanation of our scaling ABM framework, pilot operationalization scaling, right? It could be about building ABM team. It could be also about the buyer journey, or explaining that's just a siloed playbook where marketing runs programmatic display ads and sales does outbound. It doesn't work simply because it's not how your customers are buying, right? So the content hub is related to this. And then we can even narrow it down to a specific vertical. So for example, if we are selling to cybersecurity companies, right, we can present the case studies from that specific vertical, references, testimonials, etc. The same could be, by the way, repurposed into social community, right, posts. So that could be there might be micro communities in your space. There could be associations. This is what we are going to cover later today, right? But there could be platforms like LinkedIn, right? Or maybe Facebook, Reddit, doesn't really matter. So you can basically leverage these topics and start publishing, start writing about this, and involving your buyers into content co-creation, right? But we'll cover it a little bit later. This is the block which we call micro collaborations. So basically, you start nurturing these accounts with that content. Case studies. Obviously, everybody wants to see a successful implementation in their space, right? We can now talk about multiple ABM case studies, but then everybody would be, hey, but my vertical is different. Does it work? Or maybe it's my business is very specific. It won't work. But always agree with this statement. Why? Because businesses are unique. There is different competition, different environment, and different buyers. The key point is you need to understand principles and then apply them, right? So niche case studies and ultimately proprietary data. We saw multiple times this is one of the best ways to nurture it. So for example, benchmarks of successful ABM campaigns, right? ABM stack. Could be, for example, program orchestration, right? We can share this proprietary data because we are consultants. We run with multiple companies. We work with multiple companies in parallel and run ABM programs with them. So everybody loves to see this, right? How their peers are doing this. And the same, this is what you actually can leverage, right? You can always, if you are in the product business, if you have a product, right, you have a lot of data about your customers, how they're using your product, what are the benefits they're getting, dashboards, reports, metrics, etc. This is one of the best ways, right? But this content obviously should be related to the jobs to be done of your target buyer, right? It just not should be generic report about, I don't know, about anything. So that's the first group. The second one is events, which we firmly believe should be always a part of your warm-up program, right?
Absolutely. And as you will see later, it also has to do with the big question that we always get, okay, what do I do if my buyers are not on the social media, or maybe are working in conservative markets? So events can be a big lever there. But generally, what is really cool about events is that you get an attention of your buyer for, let's say, 1 hour, half an hour, etc. So you have a huge opportunity to really educate, nurture them, and then also, if you do it in the right way, position your product without making it into a product which is the fastest way to lose your audience during an event. So there is actually different types of events. We can think about one to few events versus one to many events. So for example, let's say you are also like existing events, maybe the ones that you haven't created. So I can go to an event, on a conference, an industry event, and have a conversation with a bunch of buyers there. I can maybe organize adjacent event there, invite maybe the keynote speaker from the conference, and have a private event for a small select group of people there, right? I can do, for example, in a lot of cases, what we have seen work very well, partnering with some group, community, local or global, doesn't really matter, and organizing an event, which is usually one to few, like we did it with accelerators, with associations, etc. And then it actually ties, a type of event that I wanted to mention ties into what Andre was sharing about personalized content. So when you start from a clear understanding of different business triggers or what is usually happening in your target buyer's company to start the buying process, and then you use that to break your target accounts into clusters. So like Andre mentioned, for example, let's say product-led companies who are implementing an enterprise motion and are trying to figure out how to implement, let's say, enterprise marketing and sales, maybe have tried ABM or haven't tried ABM. So these are the different ways in which you could basically, this is an example of a cluster. And then what you can do is you can then specifically organize an event addressing this problem. Ideally, you will do this, let's say, with your internal subject matter expert. This is something that we have done, and in some markets, it just works amazingly well. So they're an expert, they're sharing educational content. And what is cool about that is, for example, in a follow-up, you can also offer a one-on-one consultation session with that same expert for people who want to dive in, and then you immediately have the next step to build deeper relationship and maybe start to activate that account.
And just to give you an idea, guys, if you follow us on LinkedIn, probably you have noticed the collateral that we have this quarter, right? We're talking a lot about breaking silos, right? And how to make sure that marketing and sales work together. We focus a lot on practical aspects of account-based marketing, but in a sense, how marketing and sales should do it, even today's topic, right? How to warm up target buyers. Before this, we were talking about selecting these accounts and explaining the difference between, let's say, highly engaged accounts versus low engaged, right, accounts. What should you be doing with them? Also discussed the role of SDR, right? How you should redefine the role of SDR last time. So now to give you an idea, this is the social part, right? As you can see, and as you guess from these stats, what we also shared on LinkedIn, there were like a few posts with the proprietary data from some ABM campaigns. There were a few case studies. Obviously, all the social content is around this, and we have content hubs, but we have created them way before. Now, if we look at the events, obviously we run this live Fullfunnel podcast, right? Which is basically, okay, invite only in a sense that we promote it on LinkedIn, we promote it with people who usually sign up for our emails, and we also send invites to our target buyers, to our customers, ex-customers, our prospects, etc., inviting them to join this event, right? Now, next one is what we have as a core, let's say, activation framework this month. Later this month, maybe it makes sense to open it. We have a private event in Copenhagen, which we co-host with Dream Data and with Demand Base, right? Probably you know both platforms. Dream Data, they are exactly from Copenhagen, and Demand Base would be traveling with us. And this is an event which is all about, in a second, Vlad will share the screen, so you'll see how it works. Because you are following us, you are subscribed to our newsletter, you have never received an email from me basically promoting this event. This is invite only. We selected people who basically for whom this event is tailored, right? And we invited them. So if you just scroll down, you see it's like apply to join with the agenda, and basically we also describe the target audience below, right? If you'll cover for whom this event is, right? And again, we are not promoting it with ads or with newsletters, etc. And that's exactly the point, right? Just wanted to give you a full picture so you understand how this multi-threaded warm-up might work, right?
I just wanted to drop 2 cents because you mentioned sales and marketing collaboration. I think it's interesting to highlight how this might work for events. So maybe marketing will organize that event. Maybe like in this case, it would be with somebody like a partner. So it's kind of a co-marketing action that's usually run by your marketing department. But now, for example, let's say that we have a sales department and that, a larger product company. I mean, sales, the role of sales could be to make sure that they connect with everybody who has registered to attend this event, and maybe ask them about, okay, what are you hoping to learn there? What was the main reason that you joined? Just Andre asked me, like he's speaking there, he asked me to collect all the questions that people have to make sure that we address them during an event. So immediately this is an opportunity for sales to start building relationships with the target buyers. Also collecting this, if you remember, we said the goal of the warm-up campaign is to collect this information that we need for the account scorecard to get the insights into their challenges. So we are actually literally asking them as using the excuse of attending the event. Immediately, of course, after the event, obviously, like if you had the sales team, you would invite some people to join and be there and build a relationship. Of course, during the follow-up, sales also has a role to follow up one-on-one. For example, if I had connected with you and you shared a question with me, let's say before that event, and then after that event, I have a perfect excuse to reach out to you and ask, like, okay, was this question answered properly? If you want, I'm happy to connect you with our subject matter expert who can dive deeper into this, etc., etc. Just kind of also linking on that level how sales and marketing can work together on this.
And the best part, what you need to keep in mind, guys, about these events, why they belong to warm-up program, because this is not a trap an opportunity to pitch your product. No way. We call it warm-up because that's a fantastic opportunity to gather in one place your target people. And by the way, you can do this virtual events as well, right? So it's not limited, but we just wanted to give you a bigger perspective how that could be organized, right? So in this case, you might partner with your partners. You can partner with your local client, which is well-known and has an office, right? You can hire a thought leader to come with you, and then you basically invite people to come to that event. So there are multiple variations or multiple options how to leverage this. The key point is that you gather people in one place, and assuming that they're all your target accounts, right? They all fit your ideal customer profile. Now your goal, and that's exactly the point what we were discussing, we completely understand that, let's say, out of 100 attendees, 95% or 95 people, they're not in market. They're not going to hire us as consultants, right? Or they're not going to buy demand base or dream data, etc. But it doesn't mean that the opportunity won't appear in the future, right? This is why we call that list future pipeline, right? So we build relationship, we understand, we also get feedback from our target job roles, from VPs of marketing, from CROs, right? About their challenges, about what resonates with them, what they actually need, because it helps us to become way more relevant. And as well, we firmly understand that would be a specific set of people on that event that would kind of self-diagnose themselves, right, that they have a challenge and it's better to solve challenge with us, or they need a tool to streamline their ABM processes, or maybe to have a better end-to-end analytics and get dream data, right? That's the reality. That's why we are doing this. But the best part is that you are building this relationship and you get all of this data. Now, group number 3 is ads, right? And again, these are not, just to emphasize once more on it, these are not silent groups, right? You need to leverage them in complex. And we believe that the best ads are basically those ads that promote all other 5 groups of content. So first of all, when you have successful social post, right? How you call it today? Social first principle, right?
Yeah, social first content.
Yeah, social first content. So you post it, you get feedback, because, for example, if you post it on LinkedIn or you post it in a community, right? That could be like, I don't know, like community for developers, right? For example, you might not be connected to these people at all, right? But then these people start reacting, providing feedback, asking questions, etc. This is how you know that.
I think even better, because you're not only seeing what resonates with the target audience in terms of, like you say, engagement questions and just having that discussion, but you actually can go immediately into a conversation with them. So you see, what is resonating in terms of content, what leads to relevant conversations with relevant people, and much faster in this way, you can see whether content is actually leading to potential sales opportunities. So when you have content like that, this is the content that you want to double down on.
Yeah, and then if we'll just categorize ads, this is the first pillar, right? Top performing content from personalized cluster, from the first one, right? From personalized content. So that content, that post resonated, you boost it, right? You run it towards your target accounts. Like proprietary data or industry research, that's another fantastic thing. So if let's say you have you did your mini research like we did last year, the state of Fullfunnel, right? People love to see the data. Every single buyer in every vertical loves to see the data, right? Okay, this is what like other cybersecurity, or just think about any conservative buyer, right? Hard to reach buyer. All of them still love to see the benchmarks. That's for sure. There are no exclusions. Next, jobs to be done. Let's say VP of marketing, right? I need to increase marketing source pipeline. This is the jobs to be done, right? I need to improve sales collaboration because sales complains about the quality of marketing leads, right? That's the job to be done, right? You need to think about jobs to be done in that way, not just because I'm VP of marketing, I need to kind of do like some brand strategy, mission, tone of voice, etc.
I know, or asking ChatGPT, okay, act as a VP of marketing, tell me your challenges.
Yeah. Just think about practical jobs to be done the way like I have described. Next, outcome-based articles. Outcome-based, this could be basically, this is what we discussed, how to warm up target buyers, right? That's you get a promise and you should deliver outcome in that content, right? The key point is that a lot of companies miss in the warm-up program is that there should be a demand breach. Let's call it that way. Demand breach is explaining to people how to solve their problem without mentioning your product, without saying, hey, you need to hire Andre and Vlad, right? We share basically this is what all our content all about. But for lots of people, unfortunately, probably this is a human psychology. A lot of people need to try it first. They need to, how we call it, learn the lesson the hard way, right? And then they probably might reach out and ask for help or buy a course or buy a book. And that's not related to us only, right? The same could be with your product. Maybe they should go through the painful process first, making some mistakes, and then purchasing a product, for example.
But at the same time, there is absolutely no problem is in using your product. For example, we mentioned proprietary data. So if your product has a lot of data from different customers, you collect this data. If you, for example, present it in a nice dashboard,
absolutely,
with your product, people start seeing your product and the value that it delivers in a native context of content that is actually educating them. Another example is actual educational case studies. I don't mean like a one-pager where you're just basically self-promoting and generic cookie-cutter template case studies, but actual educational behind-the-scenes case study where you really explain how this company went through specific transformation, how they solved the challenge, exactly through all the steps. Again, your product is going to be featured in a very native way. We are already starting to create awareness of that product. Or, for example, at the bottom of a piece of content, kind of tying into the product, having a kind of very soft call to action, explaining the value proposition. There is absolutely no problem with that, as long as it's not like a bait and switch, where you're like pretending to present something educational while actually just pitching the product.
Yeah, absolutely. So let us know if that makes sense so far. Type plus, minus, feel free to ask your questions. We are going to cover them. And we'll quickly cover 3 other groups. So connections, engagement, and micro collaborations. Right? So connections, basically, the question is, how can we connect with our target buyers, right? And there are 4 pillars. One of them is associations and communities, and we are going to cover it in more detail because this is one kind of undervalued ways to connect with your target audience. Next one is X clients or X power users. Imagine you have a product, then you had power users, people who were actively using your product, right? Then they switch to another company. This is your lowest hanging fruit. Even if they don't have a champion in power, they're not influencers, right? They still could be insiders. They could give you information about the current status in your target account and make interest to everybody, maybe not to everybody, but to people who, or at least give you an idea with whom you need to talk to, right? So that's the best way. X clients, X power users. Your partners, like we just shared an example with Dream Data and Demand Base, so we don't need to spend more time. And thought leaders, right? So, for example, if your company doesn't have enough brand awareness, right? Why just simply not invite them? And this is kind of ridiculous because sometimes people ask me how to justify the budget. But then I'm saying, okay, look, you're going to spend a lot of money, or just look at your demand capturing performance, right? Yeah. Quite often you'll see that you spend enormous money on demand capturing that underperforms, and the cost of acquisition, even cost per action increases, right? Now, just get a part of that budget, pay a gig for your industry thought leader. So first of all, you can leverage, let's say, what people love to call pick up the brain of that thought leader, because you can get a lot of behind the scenes insights about your target buyers, how they buy, challenges, etc. Next, every thought leader has multiple connections to your target account. So if you build a right relationship, you can get a lot of interest. And ultimately, this is the best social proof. If your brand doesn't have enough, let's say, brand awareness, right? You borrow it from thought leader. You pay for it, you organize event, you do the gig, but you collect all these people in one place. And obviously you can co-run a session. Maybe you can just, again, run a report about sharing your proprietary data, right? You can connect with these people. You can get a lot of information, like in a sense of progressive profiling, asking about their needs, challenges, what they would love to learn, etc., right? And that would be one of the best ways to leverage it. Let's cover quickly 2 other groups and then share some practical case studies.
Absolutely. I think that a great way to think about engagement is, on the first point of engagement there is value-added commenting. And what I love, this is kind of like the best of all worlds, because, you know, we spoke about personalized content, but imagine if some of your buyers are sharing, for example, let's say they follow a specific thought leader and they're asking a question, right? So they're sharing some insights there through that question. They have a problem. So now you have an opportunity to create one-on-one personalized content for that buyer answering their question. But what I mean by the one-on-one personalized content, I mean a comment that is a value-added comment, right? So this is one way that you can look at it, right? Then Andrei just mentioned the ways in which you can collaborate with the thought leader if it's a paid gig. But if your thought leaders have a platform such as LinkedIn, and you know that your target buyers are following them there, by providing value-added comments around their posts, you have immediate opportunity to create awareness and kind of what Andrei said, borrow for free in this case, borrow their audience and credibility. Now, just if any of your buyers are active on specific social media or in communities, and I don't know, like if you have technical audience, especially like if it's like developers, engineers, etc., there will be niche communities where these people are going to be discussing everything. They will be asking and providing answers. Like, it's amazing how much engagement you can get from those communities. So what you can be doing there is you can be engaging, you can be asking questions in the communities, you can be obviously like on social, like on LinkedIn, you can be connecting to people, you can be connecting also to like what Andrei just went through, the whole connections. So everybody who is, and this is what social networks are all about, it's not just about you having a direct relationship with somebody else, but because you're now engaged with the connections of your buyers, they can also start seeing your content, you can get introductions, etc. Another way in which you can engage buyers is by what we call non-sales social and email touches, where again, instead of pitching the product on the moment when you connect with them, you're actually providing additional value. Or to wait till you can think about it is matching the call to action or your message with the level of intent or what you know about that buyer. So if that buyer just attended an event, as you can see that sometimes on LinkedIn, or you met them there, well, you can connect and ask them about, what they liked about the event. Did they learn something they want to implement, for example, in their business? Or if they engage with a piece of content, you can have a conversation about the topic, right? So they engage with this post about, I don't know, sales and marketing collaboration. You can start a conversation about that, right? You can use this to build a relationship, add value, instead of doing the cold pitching.
But also any industry use. So for example, something happening in your industry, let's say you are in pharma, right? Very conservative market. You are, I don't know, like you are in a construction business, whatever. I'm just thinking about multiple conservative verticals, right? There is something happening in your vertical, news, announcements, etc., laws. Just you can simply reach out, hey, did you see this, right? Did you notice this or that research? How you go? Like, I'm just curious. I'm talking to Phil or whoever, engineers, construction managers, right? Whoever. I'm just curious how you guys going to adjust to this new, or how you're going to leverage that insight, right? I'm just giving you a general vector of that conversation. And by the way, what is really interesting, how you can leverage direct mail. A lot of people think that because we have this case study in our blog, and everybody thinks that direct mail is just you send a personalized proposal with a fancy gift and you pitch. And that's kind of the weapon that everybody sees without looking into actual account research and how these accounts are selected, right? This was done for the accounts that there was a clear product evidence, but that's another story, right? If you want to warm up accounts, a simple way, instead of pitching, why not opening the doors with your proprietary data? You simply send a report saying, hey, we were like going through our platform. We noticed like several patterns or insights, right? Sharing these dashboards, etc. You send it with a gift, so you open the doors, it creates surprise. And obviously, if you'll include not just a standard box of cookies or whatever branded mug, right? If you'll make a personalized gift, that would be super relevant. And the next day, it gives you a fantastic opportunity to follow up, doing your research, asking, hey, did you see I assume you received, did you check the stats? And basically, I'm just reaching out, I'm calling you, or I'm emailing you. In the ideal world, if you do direct mail, then it should be accompanied by phone follow-ups by sales, right? That's the ideal play, because then you can collect all of this information. And how you guys, right? How do you deal with this? Is it the challenge that you also facing? And now, because first of all, your first touch was value delivered upfront, right? So you can have conversation about that proprietary data, about that research, right? And based on this, you do a right qualification, then you can make extra steps. Maybe there is not immediate opportunity, and the goal is not doing cold calling like Aka the Wolf of Wall Street, right? So next step would be connecting with these people, on LinkedIn, so you can continue conversation. The goal is that you get the necessary knowledge about that account and you get connected to the target buyer by delivering value upfront.
And I love that you mentioned this, what is the next step, and just wanted to remind everybody, this is a multi-threaded, multi-channel, multi-touch kind of nurturing that you're doing in the warm-up plays. So always think about each of these actions not as a hack, but as one of the steps. And so again, just to connect different activities. So let's say you have created a piece of content and you have shared this on LinkedIn, and you now know this came from, let's say, a specific challenge or new cluster, etc. Well, you can share that content with the people that you're connected to and ask them for feedback. That's a perfect engagement opportunity. Or we had a client who was amazing at this. He would just take any piece of news that companies in his target accounts are sharing. So usually that's there's plenty of that out there. Like if they're sharing anything on LinkedIn, social media, it will be kind of self-congratulating, awards news, new projects, achievements, etc. So he would write what we call internally a love letter, which is basically taking that case, giving some context around it, like, but basically congratulating them, like promoting their achievement to their network, and then very subtly also reflecting on how they could benefit. In this case, it was something to do with visual AI in manufacturing, how visual AI manufacturing could also support their case. Was very masterfully done. And then, of course, tagging the people, asking for their opinion, sharing that. This was like a perfect conversation starter. Again, just thinking about how you can like connect these different warm touches and touch points and these different warm-up plays. And then the last one is one of our favorite ones, and that is content collaboration, or micro, or doesn't have to be always micro collaboration, where you basically creating a piece of content and inviting your buyers to give you a contribution. That's what it comes down to, right? And that can take many different forms. It can take a micro collaboration. So it could be as simple as, hey, you know, I'm reaching to all, just like talking to a couple of VP of marketing about, you know, revamping ABN campaigns. I saw that you're running an ABN campaign. Like, what would be your, you know, top kind of gotcha or a pitfall that you would like to share? I'd like to post about it, right? So you collect input from 3 people is enough, and you can just write a post about it. So that's like a very micro collaboration. Like on the other end of the spectrum, you could have a big collaboration where you're running some sort of industry research, where you're collecting input from multiple buyers. We have done it many times and can work really great. You could even combine this with an event. Let's say you're going to an industry event and you're just interviewing buyers who are there for that industry research, creating that content. And then later, of course, now you can go back to the personalized content part of the playbook, where you can basically then, of course, create that content, and you can share that, and the whole thing kind of starts to build up a virtuous circle. I think what is underestimated in a lot of teams that we know and we have worked with is like how much information you can actually get from buyers in those conversation chats and interviews, especially if you get a chance to have a 15-20 minute interview with them, whether that's for a research. It doesn't have to be for a podcast. Okay, if you have a podcast, that's even a great opportunity. But one thing that we all yearn as human beings is to be listened to, right? So we are dealing with our challenges. We come home to our families. We don't want to bother them with everything that is happening at work. Like, you know, at work, you're just like dealing with that. Nobody is asking you, okay, so what is your biggest challenge? So when you give your people the listening ear, you will be amazed how much they can open and share exactly the kind of information that you need in order to later sell to them effectively.
And basically, if you holistically leverage all these 6 groups, right, that's the goal. You'll be able to stay top of the mind of your target buyers. You'll be able to nurture them with the right content. Basically, that also bridges the demand, right, and also initiates the change management. Because I think one of the biggest misconceptions that there is a content or copy that can magically shift the buyer that is not in market to a buyer that is in the market. No, it doesn't happen that way. So with a lot of buyers, you need to also work on change management, which means you need to change their beliefs, change the way how they think about solving the problems, change the constraints they believe, that won't work in my organization, or we don't have the resources, or whatever. There are multiple things, right? So that's the first part, nurturing part. And the second part is engagement. Now You're not engaging with a random SDR or with a random company. Now, these people are aware of Vlad, Andre, or Kari, or Alina, or Kevin, or whoever else, right? These people are connected to you. And also, to give you a practical example, I bet if I would reach out to any of you and just ask one question, hey guys, I'm working on this piece of content, right? Could you please share with me your opinion or whatever? Give me some information. I bet that the majority of you would share it, right? That's the difference. And this is how basically the goal of that warm-up program is to nurture these people, right? Work on change management, reach the demand, but at the same time collect the necessary information about these accounts to answer the question, what do I need to know about these accounts to create a relevant offer, right? That's the key. And ultimately, by the way, feel free to share your questions in the chat. What we are going to do, we want to share briefly 3 practical examples of, because we have received this question, how to warm up hard to reach buyers, right? So let's share three really great ways to warm up these buyers. One of them is, let's say, this one is common. I think we have covered it once, but I believe this is a fantastic example. Company that sells into HVAC vertical. Super conservative engineers of these manufacturing companies, as you guess, they're not hanging out on LinkedIn, not following Chris Walker, not following Fullfunnel. They are not commenting like crazy on LinkedIn. So if you'll do just LinkedIn outreach or even email outreach, that probably won't work, right? I'm not even talking about demand capture. So the point is that in HVAC, there are a lot of niche associations. So one of the best ways is that, because mostly this is like, if you don't, like in marketing world, in our space, right, there are a lot of events and people might ignore these events, right, might not come in because there is oversupply. In this space, there is not enough events and people lack live interaction. But most of them, basically, they belong to any specific association because this is the only one source of events, right? They are only organizing these events. So the idea is very simple. Why not partnering with this association on anything, on industry research, right? On micro event, with these people, the way like we presented you idea with Dream Data and demand base, right? Basically, with that company that we were working, we just partnered with HVAC Association on the industry research. We created the questionnaire. They send this questionnaire to all their, basically to all their members of that association. We got the inputs. And then basically what we were doing, we were just following, I mean, with our client, we were following up with these people. Hey, would you mind to have a call? We want to get like a little bit more input from you about these challenges, etc. And basically we introduced them. We were also were able to validate how they currently solve the challenges. And we were presenting, when we were calling, we were presenting, hey, we are from that company, we help with this and that. And one of the questions was like, how do you solve this challenge? Why don't you try to use a tool to kind of fix that challenge? People were sharing multiple examples, and there were like multiple reasons why not. And that was very easy to address. By the way, if you want, I can just literally show how it can work in your case. And in their case, it was really easy, right? So they kind of created a personalized experience, which means I can try and see if it works for me, right? And basically, that was the ideal way to generate sales opportunities. Yes, we are talking about 6-figure deals, but that was the only way, because the brand is not known. They don't have any brand awareness or brand recognition or connections. And that was the only way how to generate these opportunities, right? So let's quickly cover 2 other, and then we can cover a few questions.
I think actually, if you're in a conservative market with no social presence, it can be an opportunity. And I went once to visit a client's customer, and they spent half a day showing their factory was manufacturing to my client's prospect, so somebody that they didn't know, and they were basically helping my client, who is their vendor. They were helping them to close a deal. And I asked them, like, why do you spend like 2-3 hours showing them how it was implemented, showing them the factory, etc. And the CEO actually took the time to do this. And he said, you know what? You guys with marketing, you can connect with people on LinkedIn. You can listen to podcasts, attend the events. We are very lonely. We are just like always putting out fires here, always problems with deliveries, orders, quality, recall. And for us to be able to connect with others and really see how they're dealing with their problems is golden. So this is an opportunity for you to create such a water cooler. And one simple way to do this when you're in a niche market would be, for example, to organize, we did this breakfast meetings, especially when your customers physically is really good when your customers are co-located. So you have, for example, I don't know, New Jersey, you have a lot of pharmaceutical companies close by, and you have these medical tech companies in Dubai, I don't know, whatever, right? So in this case, it was like in a part of Belgium where there were a lot of food manufacturing companies. And so we could organize like the breakfast meeting. And the best way to do this is if you already have a customer there. And so I'm not anymore inviting you to join me, the vendor, but actually to join our customer who is very well known there for business breakfast meetings, to just connect to peers just before work and meet the others from the region, discuss their challenges. And of course, if your customer is there, they can share a case study. It's a fantastic opportunity to do this micro collaboration and really build relationship with a very relevant target group. And then another one that was like very different, but in a way similar, and it wasn't like face-to-face. By the way, you could do this also online, right? But the other example was where our client also working closely first with their existing customers, but then also invited prospects and other people from the industry. They just created a kind of micro community around a specific role. So they had a role that they were targeting, and they just connected people from that industry with a similar role. And they call it like a steering group. So they're actually meeting once a month, discussing like what are the biggest topics. And then they decide, okay, these are the topics that we want to discuss. And they organize themselves, come around on Zoom, I think, and have kind of a roundtable discussion, sharing best practices, discussing the challenges that they have, how they deal with them. And they also, I believe, have a WhatsApp group that is ongoing. And it's a small group of companies. I don't think there are like more than 30, but it's extremely active, and it's just amazing how it works.
And we have collected fantastic questions from you guys. I assume I saw Jeffrey, I saw Adele, I saw Jean and Kari as well today. So we try to cover your questions with our collateral. Please let us know if you feel that your questions were covered. We try to our best to share multiple examples. Type whatever, plus your favorite emoji or whatever, so we'll understand. And I would love just to pick up a few more questions from that list. One is from Dan, and this is one of the most common questions that we hear. What are some of the best opening lines to have with prospect via email or LinkedIn without sounding to sales, right? So that was exactly the point of today's presentation. To understand that, to get an answer to that question, you need to nail down the fundamentals, right? And you need to define your approach. It's completely different if I would reach out to you and would say, would you contribute to my post, right? That's completely different than I would reinvent or leverage any tactic from sales blogs or ask ChatGPT what should be a great open line, right? So define your target's warm-up play. If that would be a business breakfast that Vlad described, right? Like could be personal invite, right? To event with client name. As simple as that, right? So it really depends on what kind of warm-up play you'll leverage, and then you'll have really good replies and good engagement, right? This is how actually you won't be salesy, right? That's the key point.
So let me take the Kari's question. What are some best practices for supporting sales with what they need to warm up buyers, especially in a pilot POC program, proof of concept program? It's an excellent question. Ideally, the way they would go about it is you would select kind of a change agent or a champion from sales and work more closely with them during that pilot program. You will define what are, for your specific market, for your specific accounts, what makes sense. We gave you a lot of examples. If your target audience is on LinkedIn, then you will need to work on that, right? If your target audience is not, if they're like geographically closely located, like in the example that I just gave of the local breakfast, well, maybe this is something that you can do, right? So you need to, on the one hand, figure out what makes sense for your audience, but also be practical and identify any planned events, activities, content. For example, we had with one of our customers, with one of our clients, we had just an industry research that they were just doing every year anyhow. Well, of course, we are going to leverage that and use it as a part of the warm-up play, right? So identify all of these opportunities that you can use, and then work closely with sales to help them to understand how they can use these specific events or plays, and work together with them. And just basically, ideally, I would just do a few, let's say, steps together, really basic. Okay, so how do we invite them to the event? How do we follow up? Just doing several times together so that you're sure that they really understand it, and then letting them to go, to execute this on the other buyers. And of course, making sure that they understand what content is available, how can they best share it, how can they maybe look at the analytics later on to understand maybe how they can log into event software, let's say webinar software, see the questions that buyers ask. Like, there is a lot of things that you can just help them show how they can get the data and the content that they need to drive those conversations forward.
Yeah, and probably the last question that we can cover, because I feel that questions from Jeffrey we have covered, Mariam, how to generate contacts. This is the link to the episode that we just shared, right, about account list building and one-on-one content time, and this is what we were just talking about. So question from Adele, how to warm up these not in market buyers? Is there an assumption of preceding intent signal, or can these target accounts completely cold? They could be completely cold, but they should belong to what we call future pipeline list, right? The accounts that you have no engagement with, but they are qualified. They fit your ideal customer profile, right, for multiple reasons. And ideally, there should be already an account research done that could kind of give you an idea this account might have a need. If these are completely cold accounts and the need is not known, these are just wish lists. As simple as that. So, and then you can spend a lot of time just trying to kind of sell to these accounts. So before this, make sure that you run, first of all, you define together with sales, or you get an answer to the question, what could be the criteria, or what could be an evidence that this account might potentially have a challenge that our product solves, right? What could be the evidence? So next, all accounts should be researched and qualified by that criteria. If you don't do this, then you'll be prospecting wish lists, and with all of what we have just shared, it won't make sense. Because as you can see, there are basically two groups. There is a content nurturing and there is manual engagement. And unfortunately, ask any sales professional, big deals are, you basically not sellers win the deals, buyer close the deals. And basically the sale happens inside these internal communications. So buyers should be sold on your idea, right? And they sell. I'm talking about the big and about real big deals. Buyers should be sold, and then they close for you the deal internally, right? But that requires a lot of trust and relationship with you. So you need to make sure whenever you prospect, whenever you select this accounts, and whenever you'll do all this warm-up interactions, you are prospecting accounts that are likely to buy your product. ABM is not a magic pill that can help you to win Fortune 500 companies or the biggest banks from North America. No way. ABM, first of all, about defining the accounts that are likely to buy and creating personalized experience for these accounts. As simple as that. So hope it was valuable for you guys. Tomorrow we are going finally to announce our 5th Fullfunnel Summit. So stay tuned. A lot of comment will be invited for the upcoming episodes. We'll be inviting our speakers. So a lot of great conversations are coming soon. Have a great rest of the week and see you in 1 week. Cheers.